So last night I saw the movie Vengeance by BJ Novak, and wow, what a pleasant surprise. This movie is really, really good. I was expecting like an okay comedy, but this movie has so much thematic depth and is so well written that there's so much to break down, such as Ben's podcast, Abilene's killer, the meaning of the title of the film, Vengeance, and the Shaw family, and most of all the ending, with Quentin's death, Ben's future, and Sharon's monologue at the very end of the movie. And I can't help but reiterate how shocked I was at how good this movie was, so I really hope you enjoy my analysis. So to break this movie down, we're going to use two themes. One, culture of disconnection. We'll discuss the opening party scene, Ben's podcast, Ben's disconnection, the Shaw family's humanity, and the record producer, Quentin. And two, rediscovering humanity. We'll discuss Abilene's death, Quentin's monologue, the meaning of the title of the film, Vengeance, and the ending, with Quentin's death, Ben's future, and Ben's conversation with Sharon in the car, and much more. And if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and a comment. It helps so much. And if you want to see more of these, please make sure to subscribe as well. Let's get started. Theme number 1, culture of disconnection. The film begins with our main character Ben speaking with a friend of his at a party. And this opening scene and opening conversation establishes who Ben is at this moment. Ben and the John Mayer character continuously justify their inability to genuinely connect with women romantically, and their fear of pursuing a committed relationship with a woman they love. And even though Ben is focused more on his career, we can immediately tell that he's missing out on so much of the human experience. Even from a cinematographical standpoint, visually, we can see that Ben is empty. He and his friends stand completely still with this monotone body language, staring in one direction, uninterested in engaging with the many people around them at the party who are passing them by. The two of them are not even looking at each other as they speak to one another. Ben is completely disconnected. And in the very next scene at the party with his manager, we see Ben commentate on this exact issue of modern disconnectedness. During his podcast pitch to his manager, he explains how we don't listen, observe, consume, or converse at the same time with one another. We are all so separated from each other because of the convenience of technology and personalization. And it's really funny because he is the exact human embodiment of the issue that he's describing, and he doesn't have a problem with it. And of course, soon enough, he learns that a young woman named Abilene Shaw, who he once hooked up with, has passed away. And he is told by her family in West Texas that he must fly all the way down there to attend the funeral. The Shaw family thinks Ben was in a much more committed relationship with Abilene than he actually was. And when Ben arrives, he learns more from Ty about why he was invited. The family believes Abilene was killed, and they were hoping they could have Ben's help to avenge her. However, Ben believes Abilene overdosed. Ben's evidence for his belief is that that's what the professional investigation concluded. The Shaw family's evidence for their belief is no evidence at all. It's simply a gut feeling. And this is where we're introduced to this juxtaposition of cultures, which begins Ben's personal journey. It's very clear that the Shaw family is not as intelligent as Ben. He's a very well-educated journalist who uses facts and research to support his ideas in his work and in his life. But there's so much to this family that Ben is missing out on. Abilene's family is truly connected. There's a soul and sense of humanity that I think would inspire anyone watching this movie, and does inspire our main character Ben throughout this film. The family is always together in almost every scene with them. Even the teenage girls who in most cases wouldn't be with their family that much are very often happy to be around their family. Also, the Wi-Fi in their house isn't as sharp, but they don't seem to be concerned at all. They're so detached from the noise of modern technology and social media, while Ben is so detached from the human beings that he interacts with through modern technology and social media. The Shaw family may sometimes be impulsive or unreasonable or politically incorrect, but they know what they feel, and they live by that. A concept that is so foreign to a character like Ben, which I think is best demonstrated in the scene when they're both trying to describe what's so good about Whataburger. You can see the contrast between Ben's description and the family's description. And since Ben is so detached and selfish, he agrees to help the family find Abilene's killer, when he is actually using her murder case to create the perfect crime podcast. Once again, Ben is the embodiment of modern disconnected culture, as he exploits loving people and the tragedy they're going through to create entertainment. The only character from Texas that seems to understand what Ben is trying to do is the record producer, Quentin. Quentin may not be so much moral, but is incredibly wise, as we see him use philosophy and universe theories to inspire his vocalist into a beautiful performance. He even inspires Ben in finding his unique voice as a podcaster. He says one particular line that really reaches Ben. He says, "Nobody writes anything. All we do is translate." And I think by this line he means you need to be inspired by the beauty of what's around you to create something beautiful, which I completely agree with, and was demonstrated only minutes ago when he inspired his singer to perform that beautiful take of the song. And I think it's this quote from Quentin that begins the shift in Ben's approach in podcasting from selfish to selfless, which brings me to theme number 2, rediscovering humanity. The more time Ben spends with the Shaw family, the more interested he becomes in them, rather than what they can offer to the podcast. He also develops suspicions that Abilene may actually have been killed, and he begins to feel empathy for her as a human being. He watches videos of her singing and looks around her room to learn about who she truly was. We see him connect better with the family and embrace the West Texas culture. However, eventually the grandmother does slip up and reveals that Abilene was addicted to drugs, which strongly suggests that she did overdose. And Ben is so hurt by the fact that he wasn't told this that he reverts back to the more shallow previous version of himself, where he has a more shallow opinion on the family, labeling them a series of Southern American stereotypes, which further divides the two cultures out of ignorance. And Ben, once again, feels completely detached as we see him isolated in the parking lot, opening his phone to find an Uber that is hours away. Luckily, later on, Ben figures out the passcode to Abilene's phone and learns that Quentin was very likely to be the killer of Abilene. When Ben visits Quentin, finding out the location of Abilene's death, Quentin admits to killing Abilene. And surprisingly, Ben captured the entire conversation on his audio recorder. However, Quentin doesn't seem to be too concerned because he believes there is still no true form of proof. And Quentin's entire counterargument to Ben's accusations is actually a commentary on internet culture and modern politics. Quentin explains that everyone will have a voice on the conclusion of Ben's podcast and who the real killer is. There will always be a voice somewhere in the world to revive Quentin's innocence, so no one will ever truly know that he killed her. This is why, concluding the monologue, he says, "Everything means everything, so nothing means anything." And I think in this moment, after hearing Quentin's monologue, Ben completely taps into his humanity that he's been missing this whole movie. He allows feeling to completely take over. Feelings of empathy for the Shaws, anger towards Quentin, and vengeance for Abilene. And it's nothing but human feeling and natural impulse that drives Ben to shoot Quentin. Throughout the entire podcasting journey, Ben was trying to figure out what vengeance was from a logical standpoint. He wanted to know why we are driven towards it and hoped to learn this through the podcast. By the end, instead of learning about vengeance, Ben felt vengeance. He understands vengeance better than any true crime podcast could ever reveal to any socially disconnected listener. And whether vengeance in this situation is right or wrong, or justified or not, or whether Ben even gets caught, I don't think is at all relevant to this story. This is why I think the film ends so abruptly right after the climax scene. What truly matters is that he has fully become in touch with his humanity. So of course, he deletes the podcast audio and decides not to release it. And in the final scene, Ben has a conversation with Sharon about regret. The final line of the film is, "In my life, everything starts with a regret. It's all regret. Make them count." Sharon is saying she believes life is about living through regret, because with every decision you make, there will be a missed opportunity. People will get hurt, and some people may even die, and we can't help that. So just enjoy and embrace wherever you end up. So yes, Ben is missing out on a successful podcast, a lot of money, and likely a solid promotion in his career. However, the humanity that Ben can now feel in himself and those around him is so much more fulfilling. Alright, that's my analysis. Subscribe for weekly videos, and please send me recommendations. And please let me know your thoughts and ideas around vengeance. I would love to discuss. I hope to see you again, and thank you so much for watching. See you later.